All right, everyone. Good evening. This is Allison here for the webinar with Ms. Cherie Lowry, and it's Building Client Relationships. So first thing I want to do is make sure everyone can hear me. So if you could please type yes in the questions box. It should be on the right-hand side of your screen if you can hear me, please. All right, I only have a couple of yeses. Want to get a few more. All right. So, well, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. And that questions box you just typed into, that is what you're going to use to type in any questions you have throughout the webinar. We'll pause at certain points just to answer any of those questions. So type it in whenever you have them, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. And I will pass it over to Cherie. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great call.
Thank you, Allie. I so appreciate you, and I appreciate all of you for being with me this evening. Anyone who is willing to spend their evening hours learning about coaching and working with our clients, I'm very impressed with. So here's what we're going to talk about this evening: building client relationships. And what I'm going to talk about in regards to that are 7 action steps that I take with my MAPS clients to be sure that they are unstoppable. And to me, I study everything there is about causing people to be unstoppable because it is my purpose. Allie is going to work with us this evening, as she said, and keep us straight on the slides and answer any questions or tell me we have questions if I don't notice it. And Kelly Meniteus is also on the line with me, and she and I will be going back and forth in role play as we talk through these slides and share with you those 7 action steps that I take with our clients to be unstoppable. So Kelly, Allie, if you'll go to the next slide. Okay, and then into the next one. All right, Kelly, tell me, do you know your purpose? Have you ever had a chance to think about that or work on it?
No, not so much, Cherie.
Okay, I want to share with you. Here's what I found. If people understand their purpose, that the energy associated with knowing that actually fuels your professional, your personal, and your financial life. Can you think of someone you know who's on purpose or understands what their purpose is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, who would be one person that you know, that we all know?
Diana.
Diana would be one. So would Gary Keller. Anybody know what his purpose is? Have you ever heard him say that, Kelly?
Off the top of my head, I can't recall, although I know he has said it before.
Yes. His purpose is that people are self-actualized. And what that means is that they have fulfilled their life dreams and they're operating at a very high level. So if you go to the next slide, Allie. In fact, I think it's really important for you to understand, and I'm going to use Gary Keller as an example. As I said, his purpose is that people are self-actualized. Kelly, can you think of some ways he's created and lived that purpose in his businesses and in other ways?
Well, obviously through, Keller Williams and providing the opportunities for each one of us to fulfill our dreams. So
Keller Williams is one way, right?
Yeah.
So if you put
Absolutely.
his purpose in that top box, that people are self-actualized, Keller Williams would be one of the ways that he lives his purpose. Can you think of any other ways?
Quantum Leap, Kids Can?
Yes, all of those. His books, his publishing company. So when you know your purpose, you're like a You Inc., your own company, and you find ways to deliver your purpose. It can be monetarily, or as Gary has done, nonprofit, etc. So do you see how that would free you to create even more in the world, Kelly?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you realize it's not any company or anything that controls your destiny, it's really you and the ways you want to deliver your purpose in the world. So what I've learned in working with people, once they discover that purpose, they become like jet fuel. It's very hard to stop them because they're so passionate about what they do. Questions about that? Kelly, do you have any questions on that?
Sorry, I thought you were asking the group as in prompting Allie.
I am, and I'm asking you too.
Okay. No questions. It makes total sense because, the way that you're looking at this, if you know your purpose, then your mission really becomes finding those different avenues that helps you fulfill that purpose versus finding something to do and hoping it fulfills your purpose. It's
exactly. And if you, have you ever noticed that Gary seems to be like you literally can't stop him? He just finds another way to deliver that purpose. He gets it set up, finds the right people, and then moves to find another way to deliver that purpose. Okay?
Yeah, it's never ending.
Right. And so a couple of books that I might recommend to you is The Path by Lori Beth Jones. She's a consultant in Texas, a business consultant, and she has an exercise on page 49 of her book, The Path, that helps you, and you called it also your mission. Some people do call it mission. The heart of your mission is your purpose. There's an exercise in that book that will help you determine what your purpose is. It's my favorite book for it. She actually has you do an exercise where you pick verbs, nouns, and your audience. And I've had great success with that. There's another new one out by Simon Sinek, and it's called Your Why, which would also probably lead you there. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Now, Kelly, when you think about that, if we've discovered your purpose, before we go into future self or career vision, because you all recognize doing that exercise, because you've all been career vision sometime in your career with Keller Williams. Once you are starting to think outside the box you may be thinking, when you come to this part of doing the exercise, your mind's expanded as to what all you might do with your life. Does that make sense, Kelly?
Yeah, that makes total sense. Because really there is no box around a purpose, is there?
No. And there's no limit to the ways you can deliver it. Do you see by thinking that way that you've opened up streams of income too, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And multiple streams of income. You remember Gary is always saying to us, we don't think big enough. To me, this allows you to think at a bigger level, okay? Because a lot of people, when they design their future, think about job titles. It's not really about job titles. It's about ways that you can deliver your purpose in the world. Either you're involved or through other people. So I'm going to ask you a question. I know I've thrown a lot at you, Kelly, and maybe you don't know your purpose. But after we did this exercise, if you were one of my coaching clients, then I would take you into this section of the slides I have to work with you. And I would say to you, now tell me what you want to create in your business life. And I hope I've opened the door to maybe other possibilities for you based on having the conversation about your purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what might be, if you were living a dream life beyond anything that you have even imagined, what would one thing be that you would like to accomplish in the next 3 to 5 years in your business life?
Oh, wow. I would probably look to creating a course within my community for young women around leadership.
So you're beginning maybe to point out your purpose, aren't you? It could be leadership, and your audience could be women, right?
Yep.
I want you to just kind of sit with that, because that may come back as you do this exercise that we were talking about around purpose. What else might you want to do that maybe you've never told anybody?
That I've never told anybody. Well, wow. You're causing me to think, Cherie.
I intended that. I'll give you an example. I was working with someone who was a leader in one of the market centers, and she wanted to speak to women nationally about health issues, and she had never told anyone that. So when you have conversations with our clients at this level, to me, that builds a relationship that causes them to want to be in coaching ongoingly, because you know what their heart's desires are. And to me, there's nothing more exciting than bonding with somebody and understanding what they want to create in the world. Does that make sense, Kelly?
Yeah, that makes absolute sense.
Okay, so the 3 areas that I look at when I look at doing career visioning with someone is their business and leadership side of the house. Allie, if you go to the next slide. What they want to do personally. And then if you go to the next slide. And I like to look at the financial arena. And I've gotten so concerned about that arena because I know if someone has a lid in their financial thinking, it clouds everything else. So what I decided to do in investigating this was to explain what a steward of money is. Because I wanted to create people that were financially successful and independent. So I got in touch with 2 people that we all know. Here's what Mo Anderson had to say. You live on 70% of your income, 10% goes to contribution, 10% to investments, and 10% to savings. Here's what Gary Keller said. Now notice how in alignment he is from his purpose all the way through spending his money and giving his money away. He says a steward of money is someone who uses their money in alignment with their purpose in life and finding a great balance between using it on me, my loved ones, businesses, and others. I think of money as a placeholder for what I value, so when I use it, my values are reflected. In other words, my values and usage of money should always be in harmony. So if you think about it, if it starts all the way at the beginning of your purpose and it flows through everything you create and then in everything you give back, that's pretty unstoppable. What do you think, Kelly?
I'm just floored. That you definitely would be unstoppable in that instance. And it's almost like your purpose is your filter on everything that you touch or think.
Yes, you're exactly right. And when someone finds their purpose, here's what I've noticed as a coach. It's like we were born to find it and you're no longer looking for yourself. There's such a great strength to build from that. Gary Keller is a perfect example. I just happen to know his purpose. That's why I'm using him. Okay. Any questions about what a steward of money is, Kelly? Or any of you?
No.
Okay. Let's go to the next. Okay. Thank you. Let's see. I thought they did great definitions there. So here's what I know. To be a steward of money, you have to have a strong financial base. And these are the components of a strong financial base. And you either have them or you don't. So let's take the first one. Kelly, are you okay to answer this? Is this too personal, or are you okay to answer this?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So do you have a vision of your financial future written down?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we'd mark that yes. Do you have a positive cash flow? And what I mean is no debt, and you live by a budget.
Yes.
Okay, great. Do you contribute or make contributions?
Yes.
To organizations, etc. Do you have a savings fund and a 6-month emergency fund?
No, I'm at 4 right now.
Okay, you're working at it. Good.
Yeah.
Do you have, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Do you have investments and passive income?
Working on that too, so that's a no.
Okay, so the goal to cause a strong financial base is that you can answer all of those components as a yes. Now, I loved your answer because you're working on it. If you have a plan toward it, that also, to me, strengthens your base. Once you have that in place, here's what I found. You become a compound factor. Money starts compounding on you, okay? And the way that I use this is you either pass or fail on this. There's no in between. And if this is where I need to begin to work with you to put this together, that's where we begin to start creating you as a steward of money. Okay, Kelly, questions?
No question. That's a great exercise because it really encompasses every aspect of the financial base. And I felt great saying yes to 3 of them.
Well, and your answers were solid. I've got to say that to you because you're already working on it. I think as you go along, you're going to see how that really supports you. Again, why I'm interested in it as a coach for you this evening is because I know if you do not have financial concerns, what you want, you're never stopped by your concerns, right? You don't act out of fear because you have a strong financial base. I had a team leader in one of my first years of coaching, and he had such an issue around money, it clouded everything we did, and we had to keep working through it. So that's why I decided to become really proactive as a coach, to work with people on their financial base. Okay? So, Allie, if you'll go to the next slide. Have you ever done anything like this, Kelly, where you actually took your goal for the year in active income and showed the different streams that you were going to activate and how much you would make from each stream to cause your overall goal?
Not currently, although I have worked on a plan on what those circles will be.
Now, you know, and Diana has told us this many, many times, that when you have something visually in front of you, what happens? There's even a bold law about it.
What you focus on expands.
Exactly. So I know that once I get people to put that, what they want to create, and I ask them to dream beyond where they are, what they would like for their goal to be, and what are the streams of income. And remember, now this goes all the way back to having an expanded purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have more than one stream of income, you're not dependent on one stream. And this is in alignment. Everything I'm saying is in alignment with a 7th level agent, right?
Yep.
They come out of that business and create other businesses or other streams of income, right?
Yep.
Okay. Let's go to the next one, Allie. Yes, passive income. This is the one that really blows people's minds. And I think it is the biggest leap for people to have passive income streams. So Kelly, how many passive income streams do you have?
Currently 1.
Okay. Do you have a goal for it this next year, what you'd like to make from your passive income streams?
Yes.
Okay. If you could imagine other streams, what would you imagine or would like to have?
As a dollar figure, or thinking about what other passive streams there could be?
Both. Like,
okay.
One of them might be that course you just told me about.
Yes, very true.
It could be investments.
Yep.
It could be homes you've bought and other people live in, right?
Yep. You're filling out my chart here, Cherie.
I want to expand your mind too, because the freedom of having passive income and active income is what I believe Keller Williams wants for all of us, don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So you've got to dream it first before you have it, right? So does anything come to mind that you might add to that?
Off the top of my head, no, because you've already expanded my mind based on where I started this passive income slide.
Okay. And this, I just want you to get what a great conversation this is to have with a coaching client. Do you think that they would think that we really cared about their income and what they were creating in their life if we went to this level with them?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we would be the only one probably in their world having this conversation.
Exactly. And really, I really am setting up a base to allow them to be unstoppable. That is my purpose, to cause people to be unstoppable. So this is one of the things that I've found that causes it. So now, just to take this deeper, this is an exercise I like to do with them. If you'll go to the next page, Allie. And we're all familiar with this, right? It's the switch cost model or the sales cycle model. Allie, and we didn't get to fill yours all in, but we opened some of the doors. And this exercise would allow me to say, now, Kelly, if we don't do this, what would happen for you? Can you give me one answer? What might not happen for you?
Well, if I don't do this, then I won't be able to pay for, I won't be able to say yes to any single school in the world for my son.
Okay. Anything else?
If I don't do this, I won't be able to buy my children's first homes.
Wow, yes. So you're even going into the future, and I would take you, what would happen now and what would happen to you in the future if you don't complete it? Now, think about any time you stall in this overall plan, how could I use what you just told me to help you?
Wow. I mean, you're just going to remind me of the cost every time
Exactly.
I choose to stall.
Exactly. I'm going to say, now what about the homes you want to buy for your kids? Because you're going to give me everything I need to help you break through to new levels. And in this exercise, I'm anchoring your future into your psyche, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, great. And really, when people move to new levels of thinking, you have to, it's almost like putting two arms that lift them to the next level underneath them. So Allie, if you'll go to the next slide. So I always like to end on a positive note. What happens if we do complete it, Kelly? Now, what happens right now for you?
Right now, if we complete it?
Within this year. Let's say we just did a plan for the year. What happens when we complete it?
When we complete the plan for the year, wow, I'll have my first investment home.
Wow. And what will that mean for your family?
Oh, wow. I mean, that's huge because all that extra income I'm going to put into their house fund for them. You know,
there you go.
That's the point.
Look what you're modeling for your children, too, if you share that with them.
Oh, yeah. Like from a personal level?
Exactly.
That's setting a standard, a model for them to grow into, to learn from.
Yes. And you've started another passive income stream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I would also take you to what will happen in your future because you took these steps this year. We can stay with the home if you want to. You can imagine your children in those homes.
Oh, yeah. Well, absolutely. You know, having them come to that age and not having to worry about saving money to get into their first home or having to take extra jobs to be able to afford their first home. I can just give that to them, that sense of relief and safety and everything else.
Okay, do you see as a coach, Kelly, how you could use these sheets?
Oh, absolutely. I'm kicking myself because I haven't had these sheets before this call.
But it is the switch cost model, isn't it? That's all I'm doing. All I'm doing is finding out why this is important for you and what will happen for you by doing it. And anchoring it. And again, remember, it's like giving you two arms that lift you to the next level because we've so thoroughly anchored it for you.
Yeah,
and I would capture your words.
Author. Yeah,
Pardon?
they're altering every single piece.
Yes. Yes. And everything I'm showing you, I like to complete. We've been very focused on the growth initiative, but everything I'm going to show you this evening, I like to do within the first 6 months, and I just call it like Leadership Summit 1. These are the things that need to be in place so you're building a leader at the same time. Make sense?
Absolutely. And it also gives you every single thing that you're going to coach on based on what shows up in this exercise.
Exactly. And I'm sure that this has happened for you as well. When I've had the opportunity to work with people, a lot of times you open the doors to let them start thinking about what they'd like to do that maybe they've never thought about before. And so it becomes a dynamic document that we keep adding to as we go along. As their minds open up to greater things and more abundance, you could see how it would be dynamic, right?
Yeah, it would always be changing. Every single step opens up the next step.
Exactly. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, Allie. I have to ask you a question, Kelly. A lot of times when people move into new levels of thinking and being, there's some things that have to change. And one of the things that I've found in working with wonderful performing people is maybe not alike for some of the things that have to change. So I need to ask you this question. Are you an entrepreneurial achiever or a purposeful leader? Do you know the definition of both? Let's start with an entrepreneurial achiever. What do you think that is?
Someone that achieves based on their natural ability. It doesn't require a lot of purpose.
Exactly. And then what is a purposeful leader?
Someone who sets an intention and is in alignment with that intention to go beyond what their natural talents give them.
Perfectly said. And do they use models and systems and proven techniques and thought processes?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Now, I believe we have people who hang around Keller Williams are naturally entrepreneurial achievers, or they wouldn't be here. So where do you think you reside more predominantly?
The purposeful leader side.
Okay. Where do you think a lot of our people reside?
The entrepreneurial side.
Exactly. This was a slide that I used to help people move to a new level when we implemented the growth initiative, because every one of them said, I'm an entrepreneurial achiever, and they knew the difference. They all wanted to be a purposeful leader. So it's just a question to cause a realization to move to the next level. You're probably going to have to do things differently.
Shining the light.
Right? Yes. And when you self-discover, do you think it goes deeper than me telling you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
So it's really, really important that people understand as they move from E to P, there's going to be change. Allie, will you go to the next slide? Kelly, have you ever seen this slide?
Yes.
What is it? I know you know.
Oh, it's off the top of my head, it looks like it's from E to P.
It is E to P. Seth Campbell, one of the clients that I have, actually found this was part of the original slides. In working with people and moving them from E to P, tell me, Kelly, do you think that they know the steps to move from E to P?
Usually not.
Exactly. So since I'm at the beginning of a coaching relationship, I'm going to position this with them. When we hit the E to P wall, when you don't know what to do and you don't know the models and systems or how to do it, these are the steps we're going to follow. How would you receive that if I were coaching you? What would you think about that?
I think that would be great. Because, I mean, there's already a plan in place that I just need to follow. I don't have to be entrepreneurial at that point. I can be purposeful and get through it quicker.
Exactly, and I'm beginning to transfer it to you right now because I'm telling you how we're going to break through.
Yeah.
Here's what I've learned in coach. Say that again. I want to hear what you had to say there.
I said you're prepping me for it, so when the time comes, you're not going to get any slack on it because we already made an agreement around it.
Exactly. And I'm going to be able to say to you, Kelly, I think we're at an E to P moment. And you think, and you are very convicted that we should do it a certain way, and I see something else. So I've already positioned E to P and how we're going to move through it. When you come to the edge of E to P, for a lot of people, they resist going through that, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm positioning this on purpose, so when we get there, it's going to be easier. And we will get there.
Yes.
In fact,
multiple times.
In fact, I see a lot of that right now as we move in implementing the growth initiative. As we go deeper and deeper, we're hitting more E2P moments for people. They haven't led teams, stuff like that. Okay, so as we move through E2P, Kelly, one of the things that we have to be sure and leverage, Allie, if you go to the next slide, are your strengths. Did you do StrengthsFinder?
I did, yes, 3 years ago.
Do you remember any of your strengths? Because we always want to remember your strengths as we move through E2P so we can leverage them and make it easier for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And
were you strategic?
I was a learner, strategic, futuristic, achiever, and maximizer.
Okay, so we want to remember that as we move you through an E2P moment, because we want to leverage those strengths. If we leverage your strengths, what will happen?
We'll go quicker.
Yes. And sometimes I've used this exercise not only to position StrengthsFinder, but I might say to you, Kelly, would you mind going around and asking maybe 3 to 5 of your friends what they think your strengths are?
Okay.
You see? Yeah. And I would say, are there any other strengths that you think that we might be able to leverage as we move through E2P? Or create greater successes in your business? Doesn't just have to be an E2P moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I would ask you that as well. Are there other strengths that we have that you didn't find in StrengthsFinders that you would want to include?
Yeah, my competitiveness.
Okay. Okay. And you have sales capability because you've gotten a lot of MAPS contracts, right?
Yes, that's a direct result of me being competitive.
There you go. So I want to build this profile on you, and if I reach, when you're having difficulty, we reach back and look at this and say, okay, now what strength could we leverage into this situation? It's going to be a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my, Allie, please go to the next slide if you would. This is one of my favorites. Louise Hay says that as we change, it is natural for humans to resist. It's just natural. We were born to resist unless you're very purposeful in your life. It happens subconsciously. So Diana and I were talking about it one day, and she said, oh, what you mean is your automatic no. So when people aren't achieving what they need to achieve, it's really important to understand what their automatic no is. Kelly, do you know what yours is?
I've never thought about it, but what's coming to my mind looking at this slide is me walking into a store, salesperson coming up, asking me if I need help, and I automatically say, no, I'm just looking.
So you don't ask for help.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
I'm asking. I'm just repeating back to you. That could be it. But we all resist change. It's a human factor. So if I know as your coach how you resist change, I can spot it. But what's even more important, and I'll give you another example. I always say, you know, I'm so busy. I'm just so busy. So that's the way I stop myself. And we all have different ways that we do it. You might ignore a situation. You might walk out of the room. There's different ways that we have an automatic no. So if we both know what your automatic no is, do you see how it would help us?
Yeah, absolutely. Because as a coach, you can shine the light on that right away, and they're going to be aware of it at the same time you are, because they're probably not aware of it in the moment.
And exactly at the same time, I'm empowering you to recognize what you do to stop yourself. Because my goal is to have you know it and not even do it, right?
Yeah.
Not even say, I don't need any help. If that's yours, I'm not sure it is, but if that's what you do to stop yourself. And here, the next question I would ask you, when we get to your automatic no, how do you want me to coach you through it? Into an action that will support your goal.
Wow. Again, that's having them author it. So when you actually do it, they can't say anything about it because they told you what to do.
Exactly. Now it could change, and you could say to me, well, I know I told you that, but here's what I want you to do, and I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And like if you were coaching somebody like Fritz, he might try to joke his way out of it.
True. Very true.
So I would say, now here's what you told me to do if you try to joke your way out of it. Okay? So again, these are things that allow me to be a better coach for this person because I pretty much know what they're going to do to stop themselves. Okay, let's look at the next one. It's blank. There it is.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, when you hear the word accountability, Kelly, what do you think? You see, Fritz said hey to us.
Accountability?
Yeah.
When I hear that word, I think about achievement, partnership, somebody that cares about me and holds me to my goals, a pathway of success, a lot of different things.
Okay, now a lot of people think that accountability is punitive, right? And they resist it.
Yes.
They hate it.
Yes.
So obviously, if you're coaching someone and you're the accountability partner, you want to open that up, right? So to me, there are different levels of accountability, and this is one of my favorite ones, and it's worked really, really well for me. I just ask, where are you on the accountability scale? You have no accountability, you hate it. You're perfect because you love it. Okay, Kelly, but a lot of people don't. So they're down at rung one. You hate accountability, and you won't have any accountability structure. Or number two, you're your own accountability partner, and it's self-inflicted. Now, how far do you think you can go just by yourself?
Not too far, hence success through others.
Exactly. And this is one of my favorite ones. I call it the phantom level of accountability. And what that's about is I have a coach, but my coach doesn't hold me accountable. Now, I don't tell my coach that, and I'm not happy with my coach. So is it really accountability?
No. No, it's not.
I think I'm sure I've done it, and I've had clients that have done it. You have to go after them to find out what exactly they want, right?
Yep.
Okay. Then there's the next level that I found, and I use this thought process to position coaching ongoingly as well. I think that when you really understand coaching, you usually have a trusted advisor level of accountability. There's someone who is a coach for you who you go back to time after time after time because they know you so well. They know how to get to you. They know how to have you achieve what you want. And then you move into, and I use Tiger Woods at this time because I was studying athletes. He had subject matter experts when he was younger in the golf arena. I think he still does. And he worked off of his father, who was his trusted advisor, and he worked with golf pros who enhanced his swing or his stance or whatever. And so to me, once you've reached that trusted advisor level, and move into subject matter experts and keep going back and forth as you go forward between subject matter expert coaches and your trusted advisor, would you ever be out of coaching?
No, never.
I think we have to take people to very high levels of success. They have to understand that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolute sense.
Okay. And Allie, I also, in the package I sent to you, there was one more thing that came out of the playbook. I'm sorry, the game book. And it was rate yourself on being coachable. And we'll send that all out to you. But I do use that as well. And here are the questions that I ask people. Again, a lot of this is covered over a 6-month period. Are you willing to try something new? Are you able to look at yourself objectively? Are you open to receiving feedback? Are you willing to change? Are you realistic in your expectations? And you know what? I think I would have you fill that out, Kelly, and I'd have someone who knew you well fill it out.
Yeah, I agree with that, because listening to those questions, in my mind, I'm like, yep. And yet, that's my perception. And that might not necessarily be the truth.
Exactly, because as you grow, your mind expands. And if I had been coaching you a while, I probably would say, okay, I would even evaluate you. You could evaluate yourself, and I'd say, now this is what I see. Again, we're just increasing the communication between you as the coach and the person you're coaching. Okay, so here's what we've covered. Kelly, do you have any questions for me before I just do a little summary here?
No, not at all. I'm just in awe over here, Cherie.
Aw. Okay, anybody have some questions out there? Fritz, you're not that quiet. Or are they slow in typing, right? Okay, so let's just summarize. We took a look at purpose, expanded purpose, life plan to include personal, professional, and financial. He's asking me when I do this with them. Fritz, I like to do the life plan and the purpose pretty much out of the gate. And within the first 6 months, I showed you about half of the models I like to work with them on, but I have about 10 or 11 that I like to do within the first 6 months. Because I'm setting a base to, and I include it in coaching sessions, in the last 5 to 10 minutes, and maybe give them exercises to do around it. But I'm setting a base to cause them to be unstoppable. We also talked about the difference between entrepreneurial and purposeful, what the steps for breakthrough are, how to work with their strengths, their automatic no, and what level of accountability and coachability they are. It's taken me a while to develop this. I have found out of this that one of my goals was to be a trusted advisor for people, and I've had the opportunity to be that. It just opens the door in really understanding somebody very, very well. Okay. Anybody have any, Kelly, have any comments?
Well, actually, I do have a question, Cherie. So once you've gone through this and you've completed those exercises in the first 6 months, how often do you find that you're going back and redefining the purpose or tweaking the plan as they expand their thinking? Is it like a once-a-year thing?
It's really how fast their mind expands. Because you got to think about that. If you have a life plan and your mind starts expanding and you create multiple streams of income and you get that financial base working, you could revisit that maybe twice a year. It really depends on how fast they start growing. Have you, on the leadership side, like Mark King on the leadership side has taken off like gangbusters.
Yes,
He's a team.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So he might redo his plan or update it or add to it 2 or 3 times a year as fast as he's growing right now. I'm just using him as an example. I don't know enough people on the agent side, but like Cody Gibson or Ben Kenny, look how fast they're growing. They might have to look at their plans more than 1 time a year for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense.
Okay. So when I do that, I always position it as a dynamic document. It is a working document. And to me, it's like I'm going to lay it out in my mind so my body can follow. I've got to dream it first, right?
Right.
And as people's minds open up, then they dream greater things. There's nothing, you could even hear it in what you said this evening. The more your mind opens up, the more the doors open up to what you might achieve, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can tell you're thinking.
I am. I've totally gone internal. Even though this was a training webinar, my brain has gone in so many different directions right now. I don't know about anybody listening to us right now. I can just imagine the level of thinking that's happening in the audience right now.
Thank you. Again, I think if you tried to do this all at once, it would be too overwhelming.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And in answer to that question, it really depends on the person, how long it takes me to get through this. If they really haven't dreamed or understand what they want to create or haven't gone deep in their purpose or thought about their purpose, it could take me longer than this.
Yeah, because you've really got to go at the pace of the client, right?
Yeah.
And start where they are.
Exactly. You nailed it, Kelly. I so appreciate you allowing me to ask you questions and put you on the spot.
Absolutely. I love it.
Yeah. All right. I so appreciate that because I really wanted it to be more spontaneous so people can see how you would coach to wherever they are. I just appreciate you for doing that and letting me hit you cold on some things. You were very game. I appreciate that. Okay, if we don't, thank you, Fritz. I appreciate it. Fritz said thank you. Good information. I appreciate you, Fritz. Allie, is there anything else you want to add? If not, we are finished.
That is it for me, Sheree.
Okay. Kelly, anything you want to say?
Just thank you, Sheree and Allie, for having me on the webinar, and thank you, everyone who's in the audience.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Again, I'm very impressed that you would give up your evening. And Allie, what would we have done without you to run this whole thing? I so appreciate you. Okay, thank you so much.
Appreciate all of you. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.